In this lesson, we're going to run a job in a Docker container. We need to create a new workflow called docker.yaml. This will run automatically when there's a push to the repository, ensuring all changes are integrated smoothly. And I'll name the job Test Docker Container. We also need a runner, because if we want to use a container, we need to run that Docker somewhere. So we need the infrastructure. That's why we specify that we want to use Ubuntu latest, and then we indicate that we want to use a container and specify the image of the container we want to use. For this tutorial, we will be using a node. Let's open Node on Docker Hub and see that if we just leave Node as it is now, it will pull the latest version. But we can force it to use a specific version like this, meaning we provide a certain specification. We do it like this with a colon and then pass that specification. You can just specify the version. For example, I want version 12 of Node. You can just specify the version. For example, I want version 12 of Node. Let's try it like this with version 12 of Node. What else can we do here? If we just have one image, we can drop it like this and set it up this way. Besides the image, we can also pass variables. So let's pass n. This is the current setup for the Node.js environment, which is essential for running applications. We can pass that. We are able to navigate through various ports and harbors, allowing us to reach different destinations efficiently and effectively. Volumes if we need to use them. You can specify options like this, but in this lesson, we're not using volumes, so I'm not even writing them down. Next, we need to write the steps. And in those steps, we'll execute some instructions. Right now, just a reminder, we're in a specific step where the infrastructure is not Ubuntu latest, but Node version 12. So, if we run the step display node version, we should get 12. As you remember, in the current Linux Ubuntu that's being used, it's not 12. Let's see what's happening. We're pushing changes, so we go into our workflow and can open it to check the logs. First, the infrastructure was set up, then the container is initialized. Notice that it's Node 12, and when we try to display it on the screen, we already see version 12, because we're under the Node infrastructure, meaning we're in a Docker container that's using Node version 12. For example, if we take this version as a demonstration, and to further confirm that we're under the new infrastructure, we'll run two commands to display information about the operating system. The first will be the version of Node, and the second line. Let's push the changes now. We're waiting for it to finish, and we get an error. So, of course, we just specified the version. I didn't even notice that we didn't specify the node itself. We only specified the specification, but we didn't specify the image. We're waiting for it to finish, and then we check the display of the node versions. So it's up to 21.3. But for 21, one parameter matches the node version. Next, we look at the operating system, which is Alpine Linux. As you remember, we ran the runner on Ubuntu, but here the container is running under a different operating system, version 3.17, so the one that we pass in the specifications. In this simple way, we can easily interact with containers and execute our jobs using Docker and various images. We can use the container not just at the job level, but also at the step level. So let's establish a new step at the step level, providing additional details. I'm naming it Print New Node Versions. Print New Node Version. And I'm going to use a different image here. In this section, I'm currently writing uses and specifying in detail that this particular one will serve as my designated Docker image. Additionally, I have decided to utilize Node.js as well, but I will opt for a different and unique specification, such as, for instance, this specific one. To successfully output the command, it is necessary for me to pass it in the following manner. I want to check the version. Let's check it now. We're looking at the previous step, which uses version 21, while my current step is running a new image, and specifically, this image has version 18. This means that you can also use separate containers in steps. GitHub Actions also allows you to work with service containers, and we can connect them to our workflow like this. We pass services, and let's say I want to connect MySQL. I'm using a key, the main skeleton ID for the container, and I can call it custom MySQL. Let's set it up like that, and I use the image as the image, where I directly specify the ID of the MySQL image. The ID corresponds to MySQL and also the port, but I won't set the port. I just want to connect the image and check this image in another step. So let's add another step here to display the service image and see what's in this service image. We're using echo. We're going to refer to the job and services context, and this is an object. So we use to JSON to see it in the logs. Alright, we've loaded the use of the image into our workflow as a service, and we want to check if it's somehow involved, meaning if there's any information about it in the context of the job and services. Let's push this thing. Let's look at the actions. The execution is finishing. Let's open the display service image, and as we can see, we're getting some object. I would recommend using the same key for the ID that is used for the image itself. That way, it will be easier to work with. Since it returns the ID, it means it's successfully involved. Let's check where the container is initialized. So, we see Node version 21, and we see the MySQL service is starting up, which means the latest version of MySQL is connected to our workflow and it can be used. Basically, that's all I wanted to show in this lesson. See you in the next session.